All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. We are really excited this morning to have Aleicia Donald, who is not only a doctor, but a mom and juggling all those things. But then in addition to that, she and I met when Krista Cotton, one of our favorite members, who many of y'all know, was working through the process of getting some investing from an angel investing group out of New Orleans. And so Aleicia and I talked and we just hit it off. And I just heard her story about how she and her husband got involved with the angel investing network and like what that looks like. And when I heard her story, I just thought, oh, we have to share this with our members because it's something that we've actually had a lot of questions about. And so anyway, Aleicia, I'll let you start it off and just share a little bit about you and how you got to where you are today.
Wow, thank you. I'm really honored to be here and to be a part of such a wonderful project and I don't know, future great thing as well as current great thing. Again, my name is Aleicia Donald. I am a very, very blessed mommy and wife, friend and a physician, and of course, an angel investor, which is how we came to know each other. I am thankful for you inviting me and asking me these questions because it's a wonderful sort of thoughtful self-reflection moment for me. I don't really often pause to think about how I've gotten to be where I am and what I'm doing in the middle of all the craziness of life. But really, when I think about it, I think it really boils down to sort of probably four major themes. And I can tell you all what they are, and then I may highlight things that kind of exemplify those along the way. First and foremost, just faith. Faith is absolutely the foundation of everything for me. It's given me confidence when I didn't have the courage to have confidence in myself. Faith in God helped me through that. It's given me courage and it's given me consolation when life gets really messy and lifey, as we like to say sometimes. The other thing would be, I think, a patient diligence. I think all of us know, whether it's professionally or academically, discipline really helps a lot. And it also works with in your professional spaces, I'm sure financial discipline is also very important. An openness to learning. I really have lived or tried to live by, God gave me two eyes, 2 ears, and one mouth. And I learn a heck of a lot more when my mouth is not running. So I've really tried to absorb.
That's a good word.
Learn a lot. And then the weird thing is, but it really is true. I don't think of myself as a creative person, but really having a strong sense of authentic creativity sort of helps an individual on their life path, I think, a lot. So I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I have to acknowledge the privileges that I was fortunate enough to come into the world with. I grew up the daughter of an orthopedic surgeon and a pharmacist. So that kind of does open up your mind. It's like as far as what you think may be really possible for you. So when I left high school, I knew two things pretty sure, for sure. One, that I was intent on going to medical school. And the second thing is that I wanted to go to an HBU. And so it pretty much made sense that I ended up at Xavier University in New Orleans. At the time, they'd had a years-long track record of being the #1 placement of Black students into medical school and actually having those folks graduate and do well and go on to residency and training. They do a lot of other great things really well as well, a lot of graduate programs, a lot of pharmacy school, but that's ultimately what brought me to New Orleans. And so that from there, I went to medical school at the University of Miami. I think that this part right here is a good place to sort of pause and really explain how faith comes into that. I worked hard and did well and was fortunate enough to be accepted into medical school. I had pretty much settled on going to the Northeast for medical school throughout the summers. In undergrad, I'd spent time in the Northeast doing research and all of those types of things that one does. And my dad had attended medical school at Cornell, so I was pretty much decided. But then I had gotten an acceptance to the University of Miami. I knew that was a great program. I'd interviewed, but they sent me a letter and offered me a full scholarship for medical school.
Wow.
And so I remember that moment very distinctly still to this day. I sort of sat on the bed looking at this letter, and I had thought my path and my plan was going in one direction. And I'm sitting here looking at this letter and like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, this is really something. And I knew it was something then, but I think it really ties into the rest of my path, because obviously ultimately I did decide to go to Miami for medical school, and had a lot of great training in the trauma center that they had there that led me to a path in anesthesiology, and even more significantly met my husband there, which, and he likewise was going to attend another medical school and was offered a full scholarship and ended up in Miami. So it just seemed like, what are the chances? So those two things obviously were really key in setting me up for other paths and other doors that opened up in my life. Like I said, I decided then that I wanted to go to medical school. I met my husband. Fortunately, he and I were really like-minded, are really like-minded in terms of discipline. That was a really great opportunity. I didn't have any student debt at that time from undergrad, and then medical school scholarship really was impactful to set you up for the future financially. And I think that really, I'm trying to think of where also here. So that really set us up. Obviously you work really hard. I will have to admit that, during those years of medical school, when it gets really hard, there was a lot of prayer and like, dear God, did I make the right decision? Like, is this really what I should do? But, even still, you still work hard, you remain diligent, and, you just keep going along your path. And it ended up being absolutely the right decision. So I realized also that I was a person that liked to set goals and then work towards those goals. Okay, you're leaving high school, set for medical school, and so forth, etc. Fortunately, chancellors like that too. So we met in medical school. He's a little older than me. He matched and came to train in New Orleans, and then we decided to get married, and so I came back to New Orleans as well. Then throughout residency and training, it was really about hard work and discipline, showing up prayerfully, going home sometimes tearfully, but just staying in it. And that really opened up a lot of doors as far as, by the grace of God, people noticed my hard work and they shared that information with others, because when it came time to finish training, we really thought that we would want to come back home to Florida. And it ended up that wasn't the case. We looked at our sort of wish lists professionally and some of our financial goals as well, and really thought about it, prayed about it, and realized that we were led to move to another smaller city called Lafayette, Louisiana. And so I pulled up my map and was like, okay, where is this? And then we got it together and we moved. And that was key, because the whole time as I was working through residency, as Chancellor was working through residency, I was listening. I really was absorbing everything like a sponge. And that's really important, I think, for not just women, but also for physicians as well, because we're not really taught a lot about the business of medicine. We're taught a lot of science and things like that, and that can be financially impactful later on when you really don't know how things work. As far as you know how to take care of patients, but you don't really know how the business of medicine works, and that can lead us to be very short-sighted. So I was listening to folks around me talk about those sorts of things. I was listening to older physicians talk about what was important and learning what was important to me. I knew at that point that I needed a solid work-life balance. And I got courage from from women who were anesthesiologists. And there weren't really a lot ahead of me, but there's a lot more, thankfully, a lot more women who have gone into anesthesia since then. But I remember in a short period of time, I was listening and I happened to meet two female anesthesiologists, both of whom had three children, not one, not two, but three children in a career. And they both said to me, if I could do it all again, I'd have more children. I just, and so that to me made it okay to just, to not just be a physician. It made it okay to be multidimensional and have a home life and to seek out some sort of balance. Like if this is a desire in your heart, then you can make it work. And so when it came time for us to move to Lafayette, I sort of put the two together. My understanding about how is money made in medicine, what's valuable in that regard, and how is this going to work with what I value in my life. Love being a physician, but there was more to it. I didn't want to be miserable. And so I realized that in order for a hospital to really make money, procedures are the driving force behind their intake of cash flow, their intake of funds, be it from an insurance company, be it from the government through Medicare, et cetera. And they hire physicians to do that. When physicians look for a job, physicians think about, okay, what's my hiring package? I know my salary's here. I get vacation, how much vacation? Sometimes that's important to people. But I started to realize that as an anesthesiologist, we do lots of procedures. And how does that line up with what the hospital or what the salaries are paying? And who's trained and talented in those procedures? So when we moved, the group that I'd worked with in New Orleans made contact with some folks that they knew who happened to be looking for great anesthesiologists who were trained in some of the newer techniques. And I, of course, was fresh out of residency. And so I had been. And when a group hires an anesthesiologist and they offer up that vacation package, the vacation has to be given to each physician, but the OR schedule or all those procedures that are scheduled does not stop because a physician is on vacation. So that is a real struggle point sometimes for some anesthesia groups. So I recognized that. And so I met with the group over there and I said, look, yeah, I can do the trauma. That's no problem. I can do the obstetrics. That's not a problem at all. I can do all of the new techniques. That's no problem. I'm a hard worker, do hearts, no big deal. What I can do this for you, but I'd like to move my work-life boundaries. I don't want to do it in the middle of the night. I don't want to do it on holidays. I don't want to do it on weekends. And it was a perfect fit for them because a lot of anesthesiologists are working so hard most of the time that they're often willing to say, take another 4 weeks off my salary. I'd rather the time off. And so because the group had someone who was reliable and capable to be sort of a residential or in-house vacation relief person instead of some random person who comes who they don't know, the surgeons don't know, they may not be comfortable doing the hearts or the new techniques. I was there and, oh, you don't really have to pay you don't have to give me a benefits package with health insurance. You don't have to do this, but these are the things I need. I was able to see a space for myself and understand the value that I was able to bring to the professional environment, and then come up with an ask, a true meaningful ask. And when I really started to realize and understand my value and my worth professionally, which is a lot easier to do professionally, right? It was a lot easier. It was not, I would just say it was more than just easier to make that ask, because it wasn't necessarily easy. It wasn't that I had that courage, but once you start to really realize your value, you can't not do it. It was something that I just could not ask for. And it turned out to be really wonderful for my family. We have two children. I was able to actually have a real maternity leave after my second child, and it was really imperative to my work-life balance. And honestly, the group of physicians that I worked with, it led to a lot better lifestyle for them as well, because all of us were able to take the time to balance life and career without it being the end of the world, or being extra stressful. Um, so that sort of is how, my faith gave me the courage and the wherewithal to listen. And then I learned and I was able to see my value in the world professionally. And then I was able to learn the framework of medicine and how it was working and how the machine works. But I also had to be creative and authentic and understand who I was and what I needed and what was best for me and my family, so that I didn't let that framework box me in, if that makes sense. So it took some courage and it took some time, but I did it, and that I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful and grateful that I did. Um, let's see. Oh, I would say that also works with financial in the financial life of an individual as well. I listened and I learned from the physicians around me, those who are old enough to live through the downturn of the market and see their retirement investments change dramatically in the early 2000s. Um, but then also I listened to them, and we had and have a wonderful financial advisor. It was such a blessing to not have a lot of debt, as far as student loan debt, right? That's a tremendous thing. But then also to be fortunate enough to have a partner who's likewise, like neither one of us really had any credit card debt, or, we were willing to be patient. And I mean, my husband drove the car that he had in high school through residency. I mean, he just was like, we'll just, just trying to make financially responsible decisions so that we could earn and save and make sure that we had our cash and make sure we had the nest egg. And we listened to the financial advisor, and, you do the retirement, and then, okay, now we have children, and we save for the, I don't know, the what ifs, right? Hurricane Katrina happened a few months after we got married. So you learn that what ifs can be real present problems. And so we learned to save for those things, and we saved for college. Um, so after we checked all of the boxes, saving for retirement, um, for providing, making sure that our children's education would be provided for, we sort of sat with our financial advisor, who was a wonderful guy, and we just had to look at it more authentically. And we decided that we really weren't as interested in sort of doing more of the same at that point. And so we did start branching out a little bit in some of the sort of sure bets. What do I mean? For us in the medical field, we invested in medical equipment, which sort of got our foot in the door and sort of got us a little bit more comfortable with maybe the risk of investing a little bit more. In medical office building, I think we invested in as well, and we invested in a vacation home, so a little real estate came in, all of those little things, and um, then it came to a point where some close friends of ours, surgeons, recognized a problem in the operating room. And being wonderful, thoughtful, awesome thinkers that they are, they came up with a device to solve this problem. And they came to us and said, look, we've thought of this, we've invested in it, our families have invested in it, and we've gotten patents on this device, and we'd like to see if you all were interested in investing as well, because we think it could really be beneficial and helpful, and we know that you know about the market and what we're talking about. So because we were impressed with it, we looked into it. But then we realized, what are we willing to really getting ourselves into? We started having questions that we knew were beyond the scope of our practice. It's not just the medical, will this work? It's the, yes, it's a good idea. Yes, you have the idea, a plan, but okay, this is a big market. You swim with some big sharks here. Like, medical device companies are a huge business. So that led us to do our own sort of due diligence, and we met a new attorney, which doesn't always seem like it'd be fun when you're a physician, but it's actually happened numerous times to our benefit. And so he said, I love the questions and the way you all are thinking about this, and I like the passion that you're describing and showing around this. And he actually introduced us to the New Orleans, Louisiana Angel Network, which is the part of the angel investing firm that we are a part of. And it really has been a great thing. It's something that we didn't see or plan out for ourselves. But as we, again, two eyes and two ears, look and listen and try to learn, it has really served a really great purpose and a sense of fulfillment and creativity that we had not anticipated. So I've learned so much. Apparently I like learning. I don't know. I've learned so much about a lot of things. So our group, what I'll call NOLAN, is comprised of, I think what they'll describe it as, there's 150 to 160 accredited investors, and that basically speaks to an individual's net worth. And they come from a lot of walks of life. Some physicians, although I wouldn't say the group is overwhelmingly physicians, a lot of people who are involved in business and technology. This is Southern Louisiana. There's a lot of oil rigs in the Gulf. So it's a lot of people who have ties and financial experience with the oil industry. I've learned a lot about the oil industry. All I knew pretty much before moving to Louisiana was I go to Shell and put gas in my car, right? But they are able to work together with other members of the group to utilize not just financial resources, but knowledge resources to truly vet companies, startup companies who are in need of funds to sort of get their company to the next level. What does that mean? Let's say, for example, something very firmly in my wheelhouse. Let's say it's a medical device company and they have a really good idea. Maybe they need to get FDA approval. Maybe they need to get testing, and that takes money. It takes a lot of funding, but they may not be large enough for an official venture capital firm, which is sort of venture capitalists are firms that invest other people's money. You can think of it that way. And they usually have a larger price tag of investing, like maybe on the order of millions, like multi-million-dollar investments. Whereas angel investors are really groups of individuals who are investing their own money. And that doesn't mean that they're sort of willy-nilly investing in. They actually absolutely are invested in vetting the company. Our group, NOLAN, is a part of a national network of other angel investing groups from all across the country, from Silicon Valley in California and Denver in the Southwest to Miami in the Northeast and tons and tons of places in between. And we are very, very diligent and adamant about really digging in to see what is truly a good idea, a good product. And not just that, it can be a good idea and a good product, but never really make it to market because maybe they don't have a staff that really knows how to get it there. Maybe they don't have the funds to really get it there. Maybe they underestimate things that are unforeseen in the market. The pandemic really changed a lot of companies, almost every company last year. So they have to have the ability to pivot. And so that process has really been exciting and fun and offered a lot of opportunity to learn and also help smaller companies really seek out their dreams and hopes and hopefully do great things there. That's also how we met Krista Cotton, who is, a young woman who is really so creative, not just as far as an idea, but creative in the business world as well. So it's good to become a part of those things. So I feel like I've talked a lot, but those are the main things of who I am and I guess how I've gotten here.
I love all
I
of
mean,
what you
I'm
said.
like,
I
can
feel
we-
like I've
Will you come
chilled.
back
I
tomorrow?
know. I'm like, can we just sit at your feet and like listen forever? But please, anyone who's on the call in the member network, feel free to put questions in the chat. While that's happening, I want to say a few things that I just really loved from what you've said so far today. The first is that like you started your angel investing sort of journey in a space that you knew and were familiar with. I think that is excellent. I think with anything, whether you're just a baby investor thinking about stocks or
whatever it is that you're thinking about pursuing, maybe you're looking into a new business venture, to start with what you already know, as even if you think your experience is limited, which in our experience is not true, that you know a whole lot more than what you think you do. I think that is an excellent place to start. And then I love how you were able to then network to create more relationships in a space that you found interesting in an angel network, and then expand your knowledge beyond what you had in the beginning, which is that's where investing gets to be so fun. I love everything that you said there. And then the second thing that I just loved, because Emily and I, if we're putting on our, other hat, we run this private wealth management firm called Somerset. And often we kind of you've gone in exactly the right order that we love to encourage our clients on the road. So you start out, we always put it in 3 buckets. And if you've been listening to this Wealth Edit podcast, you've heard this before, because it's a really good foundation for wealth accumulation. You start with your primary home, your magic number of cash, and the amount you spend every year. That's sort of like your regular, we're not expecting this to grow. This is our standard of living bucket. So we put that at basically a 0% return. That's not true, because your home does or has typically grown in value over time, but you don't ever want to lose it. You don't ever want to go down from the lifestyle in which you've become accustomed. Then the second bucket that we put in our private practice is the market bucket. That's where Emily and I live in our day jobs, which is getting that 6 to 8% return. Over the last few years, it's been much more than that, but like historically over time, the only reason to have that market bucket is to fill and make sure that first bucket is fully sustainable. So then that's just a math problem, right? Like you're taking that first bucket, we're taking the second bucket and just perpetually filling the first bucket, which then allows you to get into the third bucket, which you so eloquently explained, like vacation home, businesses, your friends see a problem in the industry and you're able to solve it because you have the financial resources and you've done the appropriate planning for your family, where it all sort of works together in this beautiful picture. We call that the aspirational bucket. And that should, for all intents and purposes, grow much quicker than any of the other wealth buckets, or it can go to 0. Like it's kind of like the risk reward is just higher. So I just love everything you said, because it's how we run our practice. And it's so exciting to see from the client side. I know you're not our client, but like to hear that you've had a good experience with a responsible advisor who's led you on a great path, and you're doing everything for your family to accumulate wealth in a positive way. I don't know if that's what you meant to say, but that's what I heard from you.
Well, let me tell you, I have to say thank you. It's really great to get reassurance and encouragement to say that, it's not like we set out on a path to say, oh, we want to do this, buy this. I mean, for some things, yes, for some things we absolutely did, but you just kind of look up and you're like, oh, we're here. Okay, well, how did we get here? And I know there's probably times when our financial advisor will be like, well, I recommend X, Y, or Z. And we were sort of like, thanks, but no, I mean, so it's encouraging and we appreciate that. And I think that, I really appreciate that. And I think that it's really just reassuring, and it's good to see that how we are thinking about things is lining up with what a specialist thinks thinks it should be.
I love it. I mean, I just think that's awesome. And you have the freedom in a relationship when you hire a financial advisor to say, like, I always tell my clients, because there will be, or our clients from time to time, where someone's like, I really want to go in this direction on this particular investment. I said, that's great. At the end of the day, it's your money. And like, you can't move in with me. You wouldn't like it very much. We have very loud dogs and children. So at the end of the day, it is your money, your wealth path. But it sounds like you've done a great job of hiring great talent, being disciplined, living within your means. I mean, I don't know. This is just all things that we're hearing from you. I mean, what would you say, Emily? Yeah. Now I'm doing all the talking because I'm so passionate about it. I'm like, she's done it so well. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm listening, and I love the softer side of money as well. I mean, that's just always been, it's for me, a lot of it's a heart. It's a part of like your heart and what you see as your purpose and passion, and one of the things that I talk about a lot is that oftentimes men and women alike don't see like the Lord's hand in our finances. It seems to be like a separate thing. And especially when we're working with women who maybe have had like a significant life event. So they find themselves like going through a divorce or having lost a spouse or something, and like really like factoring that into like where you are. And so, like being mindful of that along the way, it sounds like that's something that's just played a constant role and with both you and Chancellor. I mean, like, I love that as a couple, y'all are together on that. And so, but it's like merging that in with like just really healthy thought processes around money. It's like, you're the perfect story. I'm like, wow, we
So-
need to do like a case study.
Yeah, we do.
But anyway, I love your story. And I'm so thankful that we found you. And I think it's such a testament of the wealth that Lauren and I say this all the time, but it's these women that we meet that have stories that we think like everybody needs to hear this. I want it, and so we appreciate that.
And special thank you to Krista Cotton, because our network really expands our network for each other. I mean, we were able to network 2 women in our community today that on an HR issue, and that's what we need as women. We need our own network like this, and so we appreciate you being part of ours now.
Oh no, I really appreciate your lovely and beautiful comments. I mean, let me tell you, this is real life over here. It is by no means perfect. And it is true, it is only by the grace of God. I mean, case in point, in 2005, let's see, in April of 2005, we got married. In May, I graduated from medical school. In July, I started residency in New Orleans. And in August, Katrina hit the city. Like we bought a house in March of that year. And so I just have to say, we had the opportunity. And then of course the financial market did what it did, right? And during that time. And so we were able to learn some lessons. I mean, it's not always been pretty, but we learned, okay, they say 3 months of cash. No, we're going to have more than that. Like we just, because, you're able to see that and things aren't perfect. And it's been such a blessing. It's it's been an uphill battle for a lot of things. And then it's really maybe not been for other things, but life is life. It is not always pretty and pristine, but like I said, that's why faith has to be that piece, on the softer side. And I truly believe that there are a lot of different types of blessings. And for those that do come on the financial side of things, we want to use it to be able to build a rich life for our children so that they can go out and be the blessings that they're supposed to be. And so that that others can maybe realize their dream. And that's why I think that the Wealth Edit is so important, because we learn so much from sharing the stories of others. It would be so easy to think, well, I'm not doing things correctly, or but you listen to people and say it's a rough patch, but there's going to be something on the other side of it. So I'm not usually a very in the spotlight sort of person, but I do feel like if it can help anyone the way that other people sharing their stories has helped me, then it's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Well, we so appreciate you sharing your story. We hope you'll be back. I love what you said about experience too, and it not always being pretty. We always say like the School of Hard Knocks should be an Ivy League school. You know what I mean? Like you learn very much from that. So
a lot.
A lot. And that it's like I said, there's so much about life that they don't teach you in school. So much about life and the practice of medicine that you just can't get in medical school, but you have to be willing to learn and listen. And my hope is to learn from other people's mistakes, so I don't like have to stand on the exact same landmine to like learn the lesson. So it's true.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Hopefully we will hear from you again. And I guess I was about to say, if anybody wants to learn more about the investing network that how can they find that?
Absolutely. So first of all, I think look for an angel network near you, because I can almost guarantee you there are one. There's a couple in like sort of Nashville and in that belt from Nashville, Atlanta, all across the Eastern Seaboard. That's absolutely the case. You don't have to necessarily live in the place to become a member. I know that our group has members that do not live in New Orleans or in Louisiana. But I think their website is nolaangelnetwork.com. And all of the angel networks usually have a website, and it's usually the framework like this. You can become, if you're considered an accredited investor, and their definition may vary, but it's usually you have an income somewhere in the six figures, or a net worth of some caliber that they decide is appropriate. And you would become a member and join, pay your membership dues, and you'd have access to all of the deals that they see. And they usually require a commitment to invest. Our group requires a commitment of investing at least one deal per year. And that deal would be an investment of $10,000 or more. You do more, you do less, you could be more involved, you can be less involved, but you have access to everything there. But their website should have that information on it. Their website would tell you who to contact. And if you are willing to contact Noland Angel Network, that's no problem. You can contact me, you can contact any of the folks that are listed on there. The chairman is a wonderful gentleman named Mike Eckert, and there's an executive director, Lisa Smith, as well. They're very much about the business of educating individuals, because when you know more and you're more comfortable, then it's better for all of us. And what I've found is that angel investors tend to take it up as a hobby, because it's a wonderful way to learn. So that's what. And of course, anyone's welcome to email me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.